Hey everybody, welcome again to another episode of Just for Fun Reviews. I'm your host Azzy, and with me as always is my boy Roy. And of course, I'm probably pointing in the wrong direction because it's been too long.
I'm gonna let you know, Daniel Navarrolis right underneath you, and Connor motherfucking Nose is right underneath me, and they are from the NerdicGods podcast.
Oh my god! Unless I'm in some sort of fever dream, we're going to be talking about God of War Ragnarok. Spoilers are abound. If you haven't played the game, what's wrong with you? Get a life. But nonetheless, I guess we can basically just open the floor with what was your general impressions of the game, guys? By the way, I want to thank you both for being here for this. Typically, I get way too in the weeds of these things, so hopefully you guys can match my tempo, because Nick is going to give me some like Kratos-esque grunts, and that's basically all I'm going to be able to pull out.
Boy, slow down, boy.
Basically.
Many words, boy.
I feel like you gotta say brother for this one a lot. Just brother.
So what was your general impressions of the game?
Yeah, I'll start. I fucking love the game. As a longtime God of War fan, I played the first one way back in like 2005. I think I bought 1 and 2 together for PS2 way back then. And so yeah, I've pretty much grown up with the series. And now to see it, go on in time and then become this whole new thing with 2018 and then get a sequel to that. I thought while this was very much a sequel to 2018, they did add a lot of new things to make it feel like a really true sequel, you know what I mean? And so I loved it. Yeah, go ahead.
It's actually great that you brought that up. What are your experiences with the franchise in general? Because if I had to be completely honest, past the first one, I actually hated God of War 2 and 3, just because I tend to be focused more on the story, and I found it difficult to get behind Kratos as a character, because when you jump into God of War 2, it feels like all of his problems are caused by himself, and he's throwing a massive tantrum.
No, you go back to those old games. He's not a good character, right? Even those stories, while they're fun, they are just like ridiculous, God of War stories. You know what I mean? They are like what you think of when you hear that name. God of War, just big, ridiculous, kind of along the lines of like Gears of War or something like that. It's just this big masculine men running around killing gods. And those are what those old games are. And then it obviously grew up with 2018. But
yeah, I think a great allegory for that I've heard on the internet about God of War is that the Kratos that we had in the original like trilogy, or I don't know what the hell you would call it. It's actually like 7 games, I think.
Yeah, there's 2 on PSP and then 4 on consoles.
Let's focus on the 3. The Kratos that we got in those 3 games was kind of where the male audience was at the time. I mean, we were kind of in high school. It was all about like these big taking down big monsters, being that 2-dimensional hero, because you don't need nuance or emotions in this. You just want to look cool and do cool shit. Like
play the sex mini game.
Like the sex, the gratuity of the sex mini game is very much in line with that kind of like potty humor, like naivete and childhood angst and such. And then when we get with the 2018 God of War, that same fan base that grew up with the series, like the rest of us, have grown up. We've got families now, or we're just not in that same mindset anymore. And this is a great microcosm of actually watching a franchise grow with its fan base. But one of the things that I've been hearing about the game from a lot of different sources, oddly not in a negative connotation, at least I don't think it should be a negative connotation, is that it feels like the 2018 game, like it's more of the same as the 2018 game. What do you guys think about? What do you guys really think about that? Like, is it a bad thing if it feels like the 2018 game, or is it if it ain't broke, don't fix it, or is it just more of good?
I think they added enough to make it, obviously the base gameplay is there with the axe and the blades, right? But I think they added enough this is full spoiler podcast, right?
Yeah.
We're going into it. Okay, cool. When you play as Atreus, right? I feel like that adds a completely new, different layer to that. And then the spear as well. I feel like they do such a good job of making each of the weapons feel unique and like a completely different game almost. And then obviously when you add in Atreus on top of that, you know, I feel like that's two whole new things to add on top of the base gameplay from 2018.
You talk about the spear, man. Like when that I was one of those people who had like the just bare minimum expectations that we were going to get Mjolnir as a weapon. I mean, because it's the God of War thing. We beat you, like we beat the boss and then we take their toys. That's kind of how it goes. But the moment like the whole thing with Brock to like make something to like surprise Heimdall and they pull out this fucking Draupnir ring, I had to get up. Like I was like, I was so shocked that was what they threw
The
at us.
scene of
And
Sindri when he's going into the vault of all of the copies of it, and he's trying to find it, and he gets the rope. Like that, even that scene, the one shot of like him going down, and you hear like them arguing, and then it gets quieter, and then he's in there. I even love that scene, the thing on a rope.
I'm a massive mythology buff, so even the notion that they put the Draupnir ring with the collector's edition, I couldn't really figure out what they were going to do with it because like it's very like the Draupnir ring. Not a lot in God of War Ragnarok is very quintessential to Norse mythology. Norse mythology is probably the one mythology that you can make the most up as you go along because there's not a lot of detail. There's vague stories and what have you, and the Draupnir ring was a part of a competition between the Huldra brothers, i.e. Brock and Sindri, and two other dwarves to make treasures for the Aesir gods. And all it does is every 7 days it copies itself. So it's like, what are they going to do with it? And the notion not only that that Brock and Sindri use it as raw material because it's an infinite source of raw material for their smithing, and that they made it into a spear, which is like such an iconic Spartan weapon. Like it's like Kratos is like it's the first weapon that a Spartan's trained with. It's like it's so perfect. Not to mention, like if you look at his arsenal, the blades of chaos were given to him. They didn't necessarily belong to him. They basically represent his servitude and I'm lacking the proper. Let's stick with servitude to Ares, and the axe was inherited from his wife. So the spear is the first time that a weapon's made exclusive for him and also by him with his blood being incorporated. So yeah, not getting Mjolnir was surprise. I was absolutely shocked that we got this spear and it brought in that like just extra layer. Like I even had difficulty like weaving it in at a certain point in time because I was happy with what I had and they throw this new toy.
I think getting Mjolnir would have been such a the old God of War games thing to do.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you do that multiple times in the old games. You know, you kill Hercules at one point, and then you get his.
I was thinking just about that.
Whatever. Yeah, exactly. So that would have been such a old trilogy. But I was expecting it too at some point. Like going into this game, I was thinking like, of course we're gonna get Mjolnir and fuck around with that at some point.
At least you use it once or something.
Yeah, you were gonna have that end game moment.
Yeah,
Captain America.
You guys see that when
he tries to catch it? Yeah.
Oh,
did you guys see in
Oh,
the post game
yeah.
Thor's daughter picks up Mjolnir?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
I did,
Yes.
but I assumed that she was going to.
Yeah, it's I forget what realm it's in, but you find her
Alfheim.
just Alfheim. Yeah. You find
Yeah.
her just sitting in front of it at one point, and then she picks it up, says some line, and then just flies away with it. So it's like, oh, okay, that's cool. That'll leave cool things open for the sequels.
How many of you believed that Kratos was going to die in this game?
I totally did.
Yes, totally did.
I assumed that they would. I didn't want them to. On the show last week, I kind of hinted on my podcast last week. I was like, yeah, they did the ending that I wanted, which was keep him alive. And yeah, I thought he would, but I really didn't want him to.
He did die once.
Yeah, he did
He
in,
said-
in the very beginning. Which
Oh,
by the way, hold up. The whole, the mural at the end of the first game where they show Kratos dying technically did happen. He died at the beginning of this game.
It was just Odin.
Odin was like that was a so fake out moment for me because I was like, I was hitting damn circle. Why did I die? He's like, we're not done yet. And I was like, oh, it was supposed to happen.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I always get tricked by those types of moments. Like I literally restarted Batman Arkham Asylum when the Scarecrow fake out happened. Like they started with like the game froze and then it rebooted. Had I just waited like 10 seconds longer, it would have dawned on me what happened. And I still haven't finished Arkham Knight because of the fake out in the story there too. So it's just like, God damn it, they always get me with this shit.
Would you just turn off Arkham Knight after that?
No. This is a spoiler cast for God of War Ragnarök, but quick spoiler for Arkham Knight. They make you believe that Oracle dies, and I got so pissed off at that. I set it wasn't so much that I just like deleted the game or something. I just set it down, and then I set it down, and then I picked up a different game and never went back. Right.
Not my ending.
No, like I couldn't recollect how they were going to continue the franchise without killing Kratos, because it felt very much like they were building they were going to build Atreus up to be the successor. It's like, I guess you got to get rid of him, but then and what threw another wrench into it is Nick had informed me he had beaten the game before me. Roy.
they call me Nick anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I'm still not entirely sure which it is. So.
Nick had informed me that because I've been wasting a lot of time trying to access a lot of these things on the different maps that you couldn't get to yet, and he was like, "Don't worry about that. You can't do any of that until the post game." It's like, wait, there's a post game, like a legit post game, like shit I can't do until the post game. It's like.
Yeah,
I was just Kratos.
Yeah, I was just like trying to go
all those options away from us if there's a fucking post game. It's like
I was like looking at the map. Looking at the map, I'm like, there's something here that I'm missing. I was like, I'm near the end of the game because it got to the point where it's like, hey, do you sure you want to do anything else in Midgard before we go ahead and do Ragnarok kind of stuff? And I was like, well, you know what? The hell with it. Let me just beat the game. And it's like, oh, there's some other stuff to open up to make me keep on playing the game. I was like, okay. So that's why I was like, just wait till, don't think you're going to 100% on the first go and try to get a so-called secret ending or anything for 100%ing on the first go.
Well, you see all those like yellow cracks everywhere, and then like for half the game, I'm just sitting there like, what the hell are these for? And then, obviously, you find out the spear.
Yeah. But yeah, no. Despite the fact that Kratos survived, which I'm genuinely happy about, I still ended the game in mourning. Like it's funny how resolving the story without having to without killing Kratos doesn't leave us. It doesn't cause us to think that we were like cheated or that it was cheap that Kratos survived, because so much of the story was devoted to trying to circumvent prophecy or destiny or something or things along that line. So if the one big thing that we wanted, or that Atreus as a character wanted to circumvent, was his father's death, and achieving that isn't something to be upset about, but we didn't come out of it unscathed. Like, I ended this game in mourning. There's been like 7 different interviews with the game's director, and the thing he's repeated in every single one of them is that Cory Balrog gave him 3 primary notes of things that had to happen in this game. Ragnarok had to happen, the boy had to leave, and Brock had to die. So in that pivotal moment, were you guys surprised at the twist? Because just like Atreus being revealed as Loki, that was actually a decision that they didn't make until way later in development. The notion that Tyr had been Odin this entire time.
Yeah, I didn't see the twist coming at all. I thought it was a good twist. I know that they had some breadcrumbs, but I didn't really see it. It retroactively makes sense once you beat the game, but he definitely says things throughout the game that you kind of don't really pick up too much on. But yeah, I definitely didn't think it was Odin.
Yeah, I'd be curious to go back and like listen to just some random conversations with Odin as Tyr, and just like see if I can pick up on little things that he's trying to say. I'm sure there's so many.
Don't worry, John's got you covered.
I have. I'm in the course of my second playthrough, because that's exactly what happened with the first game. It's like I beat it and then I immediately jumped back in on a hard difficulty. And he calls Freya Frigg, which was Odin's nickname for Freya, which he then used to kind of like cover up the notion that she was gone, like invented a wife named Frigg. He he referred when Atreus tries to bring him a spear, because that was how Tyr was depicted in both art and with his statue. Odin corrects him and says that he tends to go with a walking stick, which worked for his cover story that Tyr is over fighting. But then when you actually see Odin himself, he's walking around with a stick that is actually a spear in disguise. The moment after Atreus comes back from Muspelheim with the first part of the mask, as you're walking up the stairs out of like Odin's like sanctum, you can hear him talking to Hugin, and then they both disappear. And the very next scene is Kratos talking to Freya about seeking the Norns, and then here comes Tyr, completely shrouded in darkness. All you can see is his yellow glowing eyes. It's like a very ominous presence, and it was right there in front of our fucking faces. Not to mention, it's like I haven't gotten to this to the scene where he kills Brock yet, but when after Brock's murder, Mimir was wondering how Odin had gotten a raven inside the treehouse, because he could only get to Odin could only get to the treehouse because Kratos and Atreus brought him, and Odin travels with the ravens. When in the beginning of the game, when Odin's ravens, when Odin first appears, his ravens go into his arms and become sleeve tattoos. And if you look very closely, one of Tyr's arms has a sleeve tattoo. Yeah. If you actually go back to his prison, if you actually go to the cell where you found Tyr in Svartalfheim, you can find raven's feathers in the corner as well. So
yeah, I heard about that one.
Yeah, I missed that in his little cell.
It's kind of like a Knives Out or a whodunit murder mystery. What's up?
I want to hear what Daniel has to think of this game.
I'm sorry. I get very in the weeds.
Yeah, sure. So I think this game pretty much improves everything from 2018. From combat, I think the spear's great. I actually like playing Atreus. I know some people don't like playing Atreus. I think he is fun. He's not as fun as Kratos in any way, but I think he is pretty fun. I think overall, I think the pacing is off. I think that not only just bouncing back and forth between Kratos and Atreus is a little off in pacing, especially the Ironwood section.
Oh yeah.
A little slow. I liked it, but it was pretty slow.
It was a story builder. Mind. It was basically story builder.
Yeah. And I don't mind that because I do like Angry Boda. The pacing was just too off, especially in that middle section. It kind of is a big lull, and then we kind of ramp back up to kind of the climax in the end. But yeah, I love this game. I think it's great.
Okay. On Atreus' combat, real quick, that was my biggest problem with the game. I actually didn't enjoy.
You didn't enjoy his combat?
It was fine. I thought it got better over time, the more upgrades you got with it. But I don't know, just initially, man, it just felt, I don't know, you're just sitting there, you're shooting the bow, you do 3 quick hits, and then I run up, I hit him a little bit, and the hits just feel weak. They feel a little bit nerfed.
Hey, look, man, I know we all cracked up at the scene where he tried to fucking bust open that chest with his bare hands like Kratos.
That was a good one. That was hilarious. That did get me quite a bit. But yeah, I don't know. It's come the end of it, I enjoyed his combat. I thought it was fine, but like initially, majority of the time I was playing as him, I was just like, all right, this combat's a little weak. I love the story implications and everything story-wise with Atreus. I thought they did a really good job with his character in this one. I liked him so much more than I did in 2018's. I just thought they did a really good job of like portraying a teenager and like having to make him, learn lessons on his own, right? Because like I feel like we've all been there as a teenager where like you can't just be
watching him grow up in this game.
Exactly. And
he's not fully there yet, but he is growing up quick.
Yeah. Can I ask a question? Do we have an actual idea as to how old Atreus and Angry Boda are supposed to be in this game?
I think he is 14 in Ragnarok.
Okay. Because that was a question that was like in my mind. Because like I thought he was I thought someone had said in 2018's God of War he was supposed to be 8, and Fimbulwinter's 3 years.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's been about 3 years, I think, right? So I think he's supposed to be about 14. I could be off by a couple of years, but somewhere around there.
I would say like with Atreus' combat, it felt very simple because he didn't have a lot of options. I felt like I had to really utilize. For one, I was the idiot who did not realize he could actually do any kind of melee shit when I was first playing him. I was basically just shooting everything like it was a third person shooter. I didn't know. But I felt like I had to utilize his arrows and the stats effects to really augment his gameplay. But what I really liked about it was how they essentially merged his the godhood that he inherited from his dad and his Jotun like innate magic and whatnot to manifest his Spartan rage as his shapeshifting, like turning into the wolf. That initial scene where he's in Ironwood and he's shown the rest of the mural and he freaks out is like, oh my god, it's like Werewolf in London.
I love when he gets Ingrid.
Go ahead, Daniel. I was just saying it was perfect timing that he said that I have it on the video screen.
Nice. I love when he gets Ingrid, because then it's when he first gets Ingrid, when Odin gives it to him and it kind of moves to his back. You're just like, okay, well now I can see. Okay, now he's got a melee weapon. He's gonna be running around fighting with a sword. No. Ingrid is just moving around, fighting on her own. She's just over there, just fighting.
It's a D-pad and switching the sword. Yeah, I was making a lot of assumptions, but no, Ingrid was cool. Ingrid was cool. They definitely tried to make sure that we they threw in that random splash of something in order to just mix things up. Whether you had Brock or Sindri as your teammates, and like. I can't remember with Brock, but I know with Sindri, he would cycle between like 4 different things that he'd throw that would each do something different. So yeah, they definitely tried to mix it up. Though if I had to be honest, I was feeling the formula. Like anytime you're climbing something, that's when they're talking, that's when they're espousing. Then you're in the next combat situation, and then you're climbing and espousing. I enjoyed it. But I can start to see the seams, and they're really going to like with the next game whenever that comes out, because I know that the director said that he really wants to do like a Castlevania game. So Santa Monica has only done God of War games in like one game prior to God of War actually coming out. So who knows if they're going to continue with the trend or if they're going to try and take a break and do something new. Not to mention like we got like 7 more years of this generation. And the development cycle for these games is 5. So, are we going to get another one before the next game? Console comes out?
You know what I can really see happening here is like them doing a God of War, like Miles Morales spinoff kind of deal with Atreus.
See, I thought that after the last one. I thought, I don't know who put this idea out there that like they do a game as Thor real quick, just a smaller side game as Thor. But I thought that like after the last one, like leading up to the point where you see that post-credit scene in the 2018 game, where Thor appears at their doorstep. I thought that would have been a cool idea, but I could definitely see that. I don't know though. I'm not entirely sure where they're gonna go with this. I'd like to see them make something new. Just selfishly, I think this is obviously one of PlayStation's best studios now, so a new IP would be great from them. Just please don't make it a live service game.
Yeah, I mean, they're making a lot of them. I would like to. Honestly, I just want to keep playing as Kratos, to be honest. I think it'd be cool. It seems like that they are splitting Santa Monica into 2 teams now. It seems like Corey has his own team, making something new. And I'm just going to throw it out there. This team is probably continuing with God of War. It's too successful. I'm sure that they have a lot of passion still. They'll probably take a rest, but maybe put the other team to help them a little bit while they're figuring out what they want to do with God of War, and then now go make a God of War game in another 5 years or so. Go for it, Nick.
Yeah, because I would like to see more other pantheons in this one. Originally it's supposed to be Egypt, but they went with Norse mythology. But I think it was like one of the artifacts you find. Jonathan, you could probably remember this. Wasn't it? They had some Mayan stuff in here.
Yeah. Everyone kind of narrowed down the possibilities of where they could go next in the 2018 game based on that one mural where they had the Eye of Horus for Egyptian mythology. They had a symbol for that denoted Japanese mythology, Celtic, and Greek. But with this game, we got to see like the artifact set in Midgard where all the treasures from Tyr's vault just exploded and got sent all over the place. So we got a couple other things. Like we got one that was more I think it's supposed to be like Nigerian or another. No. One thing was Mayan. Another thing that I think was like Hindu mythology. So they're leaving it wide open. Not to mention, it's like I don't know if y'all caught it, but they alluded in this game that Mimir is Puck from A Midsummer Night's Dream, and that he betrayed Titania at some point. So they're even throwing in like European folklore into this mix. It's entirely up in the air. The question, if we're making predictions, like, do you think that they're going to? Because like, if you look at like all the different like the full scope of the kind of mythologies that they can really jump into, there's not many with like a ongoing story thread like Norse mythology had. So whatever we're going to get is going to be more of like a theme park kind of tour. They're like it's very much like going to be taking the mythological elements of these different mythologies and crafting an entire new story. So do you think we're going to get a game solely focused to one other pantheon, or are we going to get? Do you think we're going to get like just like an entire game that's just the whole thing is Atreus' journeys through multiple pantheons? Like think like the 9 realms, but each realm is a mythology.
I never even thought of that. That'd be really cool, actually. If you were combining a bunch of different mythologies into one, that'd be really fun. But I feel like you're kind of blowing your load there, right? Like you could make like fucking 20 more God of War games out of all these mythologies, or you could just do them all in one, right? Yeah, I don't know. I never even thought of that. That'd be a really cool idea, though.
Yeah, I like the idea. That just feels like there's too much in one for that. Like I would prefer to focus on those characters more. Like even with just this duology of the of 2018 and Ragnarok, like I wanted more of these characters just kind of sprinkled throughout, even if they would have kind of just barely introduced them in 2018. We kind of just got them only in one game, and then we're kind of never getting them again. Someone like Thor. Or Freyer, something like that. Even if they just barely introduce them, like we're just not going to get any more of them.
Whoever said that there was going to be like a Thor game, it's like that's going to be a short game. You're going to be in the ground for like 20 minutes, and then game's over. He died.
It's just a drinking minigame.
Yeah.
Oh, I know we're bouncing all over the place. I'm very sorry about that. We tend to be we tend not to write notes whenever we do this kind of stuff. But what did you guys think of Thor and his character development over the course of this game? Because we spent, just like with Odin, we spent a very long time hearing third degree like stories about what kind of person Thor was, what kind of person Odin was, what he's done, the atrocities and what have you. And then he gets matched up. Not only can he not kill us, but he gets matched up with Atreus, and they are forced to work together. So how did you feel about his development and eventual end? Like, do you feel that we were kind of cheated out of like one final battle, or do you think that that was a great encapsulation or redemption for the character?
Or Connor.
He was a very tragic character, right? Especially come the end of the game. You're like, wow, you actually really feel for Thor. We're like going into the game, you thought, oh, this is going to be the main villain. He's just going to be a big dickhead, right? And you end up really, having sympathy for him with his relationship with his daughter and the rest of his family, and then his apparent alcoholism, right?
He relapses in this game.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Did you were you guys reading the codex entries for the enemies and friends that were from Kratos' perspective? For Thor, he made sure to note that when Baldur fought, he was trying to inflict pain. But Thor, when he fights, he's fighting for the brutality. He's fighting for the fight itself. And I think like they do a really good job at like reintroducing you to the notion of what kind of person this was, because they very much keep you on edge at the very beginning of the game, because he shows up just like that premonition at the that secret ending, and then it looks like he's about to take the hammer. It looks like this is where we're going to get the Baldur fight again, and then it's like, may I come in? I have mead. Sure. Does it go well?
Just
shout out to Ryan Hurst too. I thought he did a great job as Thor.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Very subtle, a
Oh,
little more subtle of a performance.
oh,
He wasn't like
guys,
too over the top, but I liked it.
the confrontation, the minute confrontation between Thor and Heimdall when he was telling them to quit his shit. And it's like, and what are you gonna do about it? Look into my eyes, and you tell me.
We got to talk about Heimdall as a whole because Heimdall was my favorite antagonist.
Heimdall is awesome.
You're a sick man.
Heimdall was great.
Oh,
No, the introduction with Heimdall, where Trace climbing up the wall, and then you first meet him. That was such a cool introduction, and then he was just such a little asshole throughout the whole game until you kill him. That I loved every time he was on screen.
I'm gonna be completely honest. When I saw Heimdall, all I could think of was like Hermes, and I kept thinking, it was like, are we gonna cut this guy's legs off too?
Kratos is a different man.
Yeah.
I think the performance was awesome. I love his design. His character design is really really cool. Very very godly. I mean, to be fair to Heimdall, he was not wrong. He knew what Atreus was wanting to do. Like he was on to him the whole time. I know that is part of his power, but he was on to him. He knew, like, I know what you are and what you are going to do.
But-
maybe he even saw further into the future. I mean, we wouldn't know that. Maybe he knew kind of a journey that he was going to go on that was maybe more reckless. I don't know.
What's really interesting about it though is because Heimdall was described as a true believer. He basically prayed at Odin's feet, but makes me think that he never uses his abilities on Odin himself. So Odin's allowed to have his own counsel, his own mind, but part of Heimdall's downfall is that he's sitting here spending all his time trying to warn Odin how dangerous Atreus is, how dangerous Loki is, and Odin knows. Odin's there for everything. He's like, just shut the fuck up. I know what I'm doing. But what I loved about him was that was not only he was crafted into a character that you're left with that question that how are we supposed to handle him? Even after getting the spear, again. I feel like such an idiot. Even after getting the spear, I didn't understand. It's like, okay, well, how is this supposed to help us beat Heimdall? And yeah, it took me a little bit longer with that fight.
Sure.
Did you guys like that fight, by the way? Because that was my favorite boss fight. Was the Kratos Heimdall fight at the
one on Vanaheim
end of the game? Yeah.
Yeah, that fight was awesome.
We blew up his arm in the cutscene, and I was like, "Oh, let's go!"
he said, "That's it. Like that's it. You're done." And then he
Well, keep going.
There were so many. It's funny the amount of callbacks that were in this game to the 2018 game. Feel like there's something that you need to earn over the course of like an entire franchise. Like there were so many moments that were basically like Captain America picking up the hammer, whether it was just repeating lines. It's like, don't be sorry, father, be better. Or he's no longer a threat. Trying to leave Heimdall to the wayside like that. Do you feel like
I was about to say, Connor, you're out of focus.
It happens. It happens. Don't worry about it.
Do you feel like how do you feel about the continued character development for Kratos himself? Do you feel like he was stagnant in the game, or do you feel like there was more that needed to develop? Because he had spent this entire game very much on an upward trend. Most of his conflict was because Atreus couldn't tell him everything. He was being led by the nose.
Yeah, and I think the issue with that, I don't have a big problem with it, but I do have a little bit because a lot of they do a time jump here, and I think a lot of that development happened there, and we just don't see it. They've kind of more accepting of each other. They've kind of moved on. He calls him more of Atreus. He doesn't just call him boy anymore.
Oh yeah, there was the tearing down of that wall. He was even recalling. He would even refer to Mimir for advice and call him brother alongside him. Like
looks like he's studying the language from Mimir as well. He's actually reading the things himself. It seems like there is a little bit in that 3 years or so that he did change more, and we're just not really seeing it. We're kind of seeing how it's affecting everyone else now. I kind of wish they would show more of that.
But it can be said, an accusation can be made that the game, as far as its visuals are concerned, I'm not talking about the art direction, I'm just talking about like the quality of the visuals looks very much the same. Like I heard someone say that that even playing it on the PlayStation 5, on the PlayStation 5 version, it still looks like you're playing a PlayStation 4 game. But the animation quality, as far as like those big dramatic scenes, like Freya freeing herself from Odin, like the scene after Nidhogg, not to mention yet another callback when Kratos echoing her words in the previous game. It's like, you don't have to say anything, not to me, not about that. Just, it makes you wish that there was like there was a segment of the Oscars for mocap work for voice actors, because god damn it, they did such good fucking work. Were you guys surprised that Freya became very much a consistent or permanent sidekick?
I'm glad we're going to talk about Freya, because Freya was one of my favorite parts of the entire game. I loved Freya in this game. She was awesome. I loved seeing her journey, just being hateful of him and not letting her have the choice what to do with Baldur. And seeing that, did you want to say something?
No, I'm sorry. Like, it just struck me. She also tried to break Kratos' neck at the very beginning of the game in the same way that he broke Baldur's neck. I was like, god damn it.
She was giving him a fight. She was giving him a fight. If she was full power, it would definitely be more of a fight.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I think in the beginning of the game, I legit thought like, oh, Freya's gonna be like the early boss that we kill, you know, and then to have over time her become like Kratos' ally, right? Like closest ally, really, by the end of the game.
Yeah,
I thought that was a really cool way to go, a cool direction to go with her character. Also, a big shout out to the part where they connect over each other's brothers, right? Like Freya's having trouble with what's her brother's name? Freyr. Very close names in this game, you know. Hey, Freyr, and it's, whatever.
That's Norse mythology, man. It's all over the place. Like, everything's a Heim. Like, think you got Sleipnir, like Gleipnir, Fenrir. Yeah, it's a very rhymey naming convention. So you guys think
I love that part where like Kratos, it's not even in a cutscene. Kratos tells her the story of Ghost of Sparta, of what happened with Kratos' brother, and they connect over that. You know, they kind of have a bond with each other's brothers and like how to deal with the situation.
Yeah, he talks about his daughter.
Yeah,
he talks about
a whole bunch of the like most of the story stuff is not even in cutscene. It's just you walking around and it just bring up random conversation. I was like, oh, okay, that's a nice little interesting information to hear about this character. That's where the little bit of the character development comes into play. And I wish it was a whole lot more, because I could have just sat there and just kept on listening and talk all day.
Especially when you're back at like Ciri's house and like you see Tyr and Freya talking, or the dwarves talking, or something like that. You know how many times I just sat there and put the controller down and listened to the conversation? Like, not a lot of games make you do that, you know?
You don't know how many times I'm like on like the dog sled or in the boat, and I've long since gotten to where I'm going, but they're talking. I don't want to interrupt it. So I'm sitting there on the shore.
Oh, because it's the worst when you do get off the sled and they stop the conversation and they're like, we'll come back to that later, and then they pick up and it's like it's been like 2 hours for me, and I'm like, I don't even know what the hell we were talking about.
Even worse if I'm popping off on a spot and I'm only there for like a quick sec, and then I jump back onto the boat and they don't immediately get back in the conversation. They're like, come on, what the hell? Let's go. Like, it was story time. Give me something. But they like I do, like I said, I didn't really have that great of a relationship with the franchise prior to the 2018 game. I loved the original, and I loved the story. It was very much this really great Greek tragedy, like Oedipus in that sort of way, in the original game. But I was really shocked that they basically canonized anything and everything that Kratos has been in. Like, I'm surprised there wasn't a reference to like his like guest appearance in Mortal Kombat in one of these things.
Shovel Knight. He was in Shovel Knight.
Yeah.
Was he? What?
He was in the PlayStation version of Shovel Knight. Yeah.
It's like, I just want see now. I just want my mirror to say, is like, Kratos, I heard you were digging holes.
Yes, please.
There was a funny part where they hint at Kratos going to PlayStation All Stars, the Super Smash Bros. Like,
Yes.
it's like, wow, you
So
guys,
good.
you guys are making that canon, huh? And he was like, I don't want to talk about this.
Yeah, no, but everything everything that has gone on with the character that got referenced, him tearing down the Sisters of Fate in that one PSP game, the whole thing with Deimos, these are things that people kind of just like ignore. When like they don't correct me if I'm wrong, they don't have like HD re-releases of any of those extra games. They just focus on the primary ones. But for longtime fans of the series, and people unlike myself who love the entire thing, everything is canon, everything is referenced, it's all relevant. It's like
And that
that's a
is
good
so
amount of support.
cool. Like when you think about that, because it would have been very easy for them for 2018 to just say, no, this is a new Kratos, this is a new God of War. Like, yeah, they look the same. That's just because we need a big guy with red tattoos to headline the game. You know, it would have
seems
been
like
very
a cop
easy
out.
for them to drop all of that. Yeah, and they didn't, and they brought it all forward, and they made it even more meaningful with these two games, and that's what makes it so special.
Yeah, we
They,
wouldn't have this Kratos without everything that he's been through.
Right.
It would not really be the same character.
oh yeah, definitely. They did a really great job of making it fall back in reference, like or relevant to the point in the story when it's brought up, like Mimir asking Kratos that he had heard stories about him hurtling through time and thinking that it was crazy, like and then referencing it back to the notion that Thor at Ragnarok is going to hit Jormungandr so hard that he goes back in time. It's like, yeah, that's crazy. But the notion that you like killed the fates and then also went back in time is like, really? It's like, yeah, it kind of sucked. Fuck.
I thought Jormungandr would have a slightly bigger role. Like, I guess another
Yeah.
criticism, a little bit of criticism, I guess, is when you're in Ragnarok. I wish it was a little longer. I wish you could have saw more. I wish like the Thor and Jormungandr fight was a little closer. You could see that. Like there were just some other things that were happening. Like even when Surtur becomes Ragnarok and is he's coming in, you're kind of only seeing him from a distance. Like let me be here. Let show me the scale more. Which I think the other God of Wars did much better showing scale. Sometimes you get scale in 2018 in this, but it just I wanted a more sense of just what is
I don't know.
happening.
I get that. You really like. I think because Nick was telling me after he had finished the game, and you can elaborate on this. Initially, you felt like the ending was rushed, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was probably because I was wanting a whole lot more than what I got, but it was more because I had because I've been with the franchise since the beginning when it first came out, and like the very 2018 version where Kratos is bringing up his past and everything, he doesn't want to talk about it. I mean, I can relate to that because there's some things I don't want to bring up, and that's how I can relate with the character. But in this one, there was like not really that much, like as far as like cutscene wise, him talking about his past with like I'm surprised we didn't even see Athena in this one. Like that's
what about Daddy?
Or Zeus. When they went back to what Niflheim or Sniffleheim, I can't remember these damn realm names.
Niflheim.
But yeah,
I'm a very big mythology buff, so I'm the nerd for this kind of like random mythology shit. So when you saying Sniffleheim, it's like, oh come on, man, you know the name.
I don't remember the realms. Yeah, but I mean, I'm just like shocked. Like he like this whole time, he's really over the Greek mythology of what he's done. And to be honest, this game was more about Atreus. And
oh yeah,
because
the end of.
Go ahead.
At the end of the 2018 game, he like when he let the bandages go, that was him letting go of all that baggage. He finally realized that he didn't need that anymore. So I'm not surprised that we didn't see like Athena's ghost, because that wasn't literally Athena's ghost. That was just his phantasm. That was him kicking his own ass. Zeus, yeah. I mean, I think what it was is that we got a lot of Jormungandr in the 2018 game. We got a lot of Niflheim and the effects of it in the 2018 game. So they're just focusing on other things, using like spending the story currency in other places. But you're talking about like Land of Dogs, man. That's what I'm saying. Like I nerded out when when Atreus was in Niflheim and they had come on a chained dog, because I was so bought into this like fan theory before the game came out that Fenrir was going to be chained in Helheim. Like on the map when they showed the promotional material, you could see a little symbol of like a wolf in the Helheim part of the map. So it's like that must be where Fenrir is. But they're just like ripping the chains off. It's like you can't just do that. That's not how that works. So it's like that's gotta be Garm. Garm's Norse mythology, right? Google real quick. It's like, yeah, that's gotta be Garm. Okay, all right, yeah.
I love the design of Garm, by the way. Just the way he looked was so cool when you like got really close to him and you see like all the fur up close and stuff. It looked really
very
cool.
patchy.
Yeah,
like it fought a lot.
Don't gotta worry about him dying. He's an immortal giant dog.
Perfect.
Didn't know that.
Soul of another dog.
Didn't know that. Didn't know that when we killed him. I was like, all right, that's it. And then he keeps coming back. I'm like, what the hell, man?
Strong ass dog.
Yeah, ripping portals through other realms.
Clawing through it like my freaking back door.
We don't have to worry about the entire Greek realm at all. Like it's
gone.
Nothing is left. Like it is literally like an apocalyptic. Like nothing could live in that. So like, let's go back to that land.
You see, there's something I'm curious about. You actually just hinted at it. What if they could go back, but it's not Greek anymore? It's Roman. Now you're dealing with all the Roman, because the characterization of the Roman versions of the gods are at least somewhat different. Instead of Zeus, you have Jupiter. Instead of is it Hera? Instead of Hera, you have Juno. Who knows? I mean, it's possible.
God of 3, like there is God of War 3. There still is like land there. Like
I mean, technically, the way it looked, it looked like shit when Kratos was done.
Storms everywhere. Everything was all green.
But I mean, because that's where at the end where he pretty much stabs himself and he gives hope back to Greece or whatever. I don't know. It could still be there and be thriving. Who knows?
Though, is that the Titans being dead is like catastrophic for the entire like everyone's dead after that, right? Like,
yeah, basically.
Like Gaia being dead means like there is nothing. Like he literally has wiped. Like I could be wrong, unless like it's a Horizon, or a post-apocalypse, or
they got machines over there now.
Yeah. Maybe that's how they canonize Horizon.
Based on the description of the Ankh in Midgard, it sounds like the land by the river, I think is what they refer to it, i.e. the Nile, is supposed to be technologically advanced based on what Mimir says. So if they do end up going back to, because the whole reason why they skipped over Egypt, because they thought that the environments would be too close to Greece. So if they do send Atreus to that pantheon, we might get some kind of sci-fi element to it. Who knows?
Stargate.
God of War 2077.
Oh god.
I would like the Hindi probably next. I know Egypt is. I want to see that as well. But I like the Hindi gods are really cool. So I think that'd be a pretty interesting take. Especially they're not very popular right now. I mean, we always get Egyptian things and Norse things and Greek things.
True.
I don't think we get a lot of Hindi things.
But I say just don't follow the same route as Assassin's Creed. I don't need to go. About to say, like you said, they already did their little Greek thing. They already did their little Norse thing. Now, well, what's their? I don't even know what their next thing is.
They have a bunch of stuff.
Japan. Yeah,
they have
Japan.
told us.
There's like 4 games.
There's a lot of really cool monsters you can get out of Japanese mythology.
Japanese would be cool.
Or you never know, it could be Chinese. I mean, we're getting Black Myth Wukong pretty soon. That'll be in the lexicon. Atreus meaning Wukong. Yeah. No, if we really want if we want some Dark Souls type shit, some Elden Ring type shit for God of War, they need to go to Mayan. They need to go to Mesoamerican, because they cool. with the amount of blood, in Mayan mythology, the entire planet, the entire Earth is a multi-mouthed monster that must be given blood sacrifices or they'll just eat us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're
sounds like a video game to me.
They're nearly gutting themselves just for sacrifice. Yeah, it's crazy.
Basically.
That'd be cool too, because that's one like video games hasn't touched, right? Like
not often, yeah.
Yeah, or just entertainment in general.
Like Shadow of the Tomb Raider was like the last thing I could think of.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
But
no, you're not wrong. There's a lot, and I think like rather than putting themselves in a box, that's why we didn't get a secret ending to this one. They didn't give us any indication as to where Atreus is going to be going.
Looking for the Giants.
What's up?
Yeah, he's looking for the Giants. Yeah, but I want to give a shout out to Sindri after Brock died. This man. I get out of here, Sindri. What are you doing? I mean, it's cool that I like that he killed Odin, but like, get out of here with your attitude. Everyone.
No, I wasn't just mourning Brock by the end of the game. I was mourning the death of Sindri's friendship, because like it irreparably changed him. Not only did he stop wearing his gloves, he stopped carrying the fact that like he had the grime and he had Brock's blood stained on his clothes and he didn't give a fuck. But by the end, even after the funeral, he didn't even want to hear what the hell Kratos was saying. And with his ability, now that Brock's gone, he's the only dwarf that we know of that can slip between the realms. So we could never find him. He doesn't. You would never be able to catch him.
Yeah, unless he wanted to find you.
That was such a sad thing at the funeral too, where Kratos puts his hand on his shoulder, calls him friend, and Sindri just looks up and he's still just angry. He doesn't even say anything.
Yeah.
I mean, I doubt he's going to come back and try to kill Kratos or anything like that for vengeance. But
I do want to pose a question to everyone. I've kind of posed this to Connor, and I think it was off air actually. Is Kratos and Freya going to be a thing?
I hope not.
Nah.
I saw that they were becoming much closer, throughout the game, especially at the end. It felt like they were at least working that way. But I just was. What do you guys think?
I mean, if he wants to go back to his old Greek habits and just go for that booty, yeah, he'll go for that booty. But
a little triangle, circle. You know what I mean?
Right.
Just
break some pottery
sure knock
and
over the vase. Just make sure you knock over the vase.
But I don't think so, man. Because in the very beginning of the game, he's still in mourning for Faye. He's grabbing that pouch and everything. He still has, like, even at the end where he's touching the mural that she made for him. I don't think he's over that, and I don't think he's even going to bother going down that line.
Did y'all think?
Go ahead.
Did y'all think that Faye was going to be more involved in the game?
No,
like, especially
I'm surprised that she was in it as much as she was.
Yeah, I'm surprised we saw her at all. Shout out to Karen Page.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which I'm mad because John was like, yeah, she's in True Blood. And I'm like, I never seen True Blood. And then and when I looked
I'm bad with actors' names.
And then I looked at her, I was like, that looked like the chick from Daredevil. And I was like, that's a more appropriate thing for me to understand.
That was like the most like they just took the actress's face and put it on the character that like I've ever seen because it just looked just like her.
My prediction for the game was that like at the very beginning, that scene where Kratos is holding the pouch and still thinking mournfully. He's still obviously mourning Faye's passing. I figured that was going to be the credence for a flashback where we get to see Kratos meeting Faye, because I had seen someone, like, I thought it was a leak at the time, say that the reason why Kratos ended up in the Nine Realms was because Faye effectively called him to it. But we didn't get anything.
There's
about
like
that.
a comic, right? Isn't there a comic
there?
that deals with that?
There's a comic. Yeah,
by this comic.
The comic is actually hints at Egypt mythology like a lot.
Mhm.
Like he's actually by like pyramids and shit in that comic. I forget exactly what happened.
Yeah, I remember
Kratos like trying to get rid of his blades.
Yeah, he's trying to get rid of the blades, and it keeps coming back to him. All I remember, he was fighting a crocodile in one of them. I was like, yeah. I stopped.
Yeah.
I stopped following
like
it.
an Egyptian god during that.
Mhm.
So
I need to look up this.
Really? Yeah. It's
I would look for you, John. It's buried under here somewhere.
The ones I saw were the ones that I was reading, like the supplemental God of War 2018 material was him just going out into the woods and letting himself get his ass kicked by wild animals So he just like training himself to not like it involved like werebears and like witches and shit, berserkers. I didn't see this on the fucking comic. What the
I think this
hell?
is newer. I think it came out in like 2020, like tail
Yeah,
end of
no,
2020.
it came.
So
It came.
it's somewhat
I
newer.
think it came out in 2019 because that's when I was actually working at a comic shop. I was like, oh, this is like prequel to the actual 2018. Let me go ahead and add that to my box. But I never finished it. I got 3 issues in, and I was like,
He did a lot of cool shit
Hey.
in the walk from Greek mythology to Norse mythology. he met Shovel Knight. He met an Egyptian god.
I'm getting like a Forrest Gump kind of vibes. That's how he got the beard. Shit, that is the scene from Forrest Gump.
figured I gone
Was
this
he
far, I
more
might as well
on
keep
that
on going.
I'm just walking. No, I'm sorry. To get to your question, Daniel, but no, I think that like they're effective. Like, while Freya is perfectly happy being being that way, they're bonded by loss, bonded by being effectively widows, a widow and a widower. It's my hope, honestly, that because like Faye kind of abandoned Charlie in her home, and now Bjerger is like taking care of Charlie. So with that added level of freedom, I'm kind of hoping that um that Freya eventually takes over for Angerboda so that she can go on these adventures to find the giants with Atreus. Because that's the only thing really holding her back, is that she's basically the steward of like the grove, the Ironwood. Um, but who
That would
knows?
make
Like
a lot of sense, actually.
I'm also hoping that like begrudgingly Sindri goes after Atreus just because like still he can still be pissed off, but we still need like a shopkeeper in these future games.
Yeah, I don't think that
You
she
got
like,
the
if Kratos
southern
left-
accent girl, whatever the hell her name was.
The AT&T girl. I can't remember
No, Linda,
the actor.
or
Oh,
Linda,
yeah. Fuck.
I think
like,
that if Kratos does leave, and he's I don't know, he goes to Egypt. If he leaves, I think that Freya is not staying. I think Freya would go with him. One way, whether it's a relationship or not, I think that she would leave with him.
That's the big difference about ending from the Greek mythology. Like Kratos was the only one alive at the end of God of War 3. And now this one, where we have all these characters that we're really attached to, Freya, Sindri, Atreus, Kratos, where they all got to come forward into the next one with it. And I'll be very interested to see how they pull that off.
Yeah,
I
I'm
have to
glad they
wonder
didn't
if-
just kill everyone. Go ahead.
I actually kind of wonder if they regret their decisions with the initial trilogy, because they were basically just running through like the laundry list. It's like, all right, what do we got left? Did he fight the Fates yet? No, okay, let's have him fight the Fates. Hades is there. Let's go ahead and have him fight Hades. All of like the story potential that was there with Greek mythology. Like the thing that kills me is that like there literally is a giant kaiju in Greek mythology that they did not touch. I think that's hilarious. It's called Typhon, and it's literally the monster that rips Zeus apart. Like, the Greeks believed that the origin of Egyptian mythology is that Typhon kicked the Greek gods' asses so badly that they ran away from home and then just hung out in Egypt, masquerading as like animal gods. So the Greeks believed that the Egyptian mythology was basically just theirs but adapted. Um, uh, so yeah, no,
Overall, because I know
brain thought.
because I know Connor's got to leave in a few minutes. Overall, would you give this game?
Oof, on like a 10 scale?
Yeah.
Go 20 point. You know, I like my 20.
20 point. Well, if we're gonna do that, I might as well go 100 point, right?
Oh no.
No, I probably,
Zeros.
I think I go 9. Like I think I judge things a bit more harshly if we're putting stuff on a 20-point scale. You know, it's really hard. I don't even know if I could name a 10 out of 10 game. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'd go 9. But I mean, there's not much to complain about here. Like I said, I didn't enjoy Atreus' combat as much as Kratos, but I still have fun with it overall. I think story-wise, I mean, it's up there with the best stories in games. Combat-wise, it's super fun. The parry system, all 3 different weapons, and yeah, go solid 9.
Daniel.
I would probably say a 10. I think that it's not a perfect 10. I don't think there are very many of those, but I would probably give it a 10. I think that I think they could have cleaned up the game a little bit more. And there are things that I wanted more from some of the characters, but I think it's a pretty solid 10. It did everything that 2018 did, but better. And like I think you can't really ask for much more than that.
I would have to give it a 9 if you believe it or not. You would think with how emphatic I am about these past two games that I would jump on giving it a 10 regardless of nuance. But I think the nuance is necessary. They're like I said, I started to see the line work. I like the formula behind it, and where the 2018 game I would immediately give a 10 because of its drastic shift in design. With this one, it's a tried and true formula. It's still a really good formula, but I'm starting to see it for what it is. So hopefully, with the next entry in the franchise, they take steps to evolve it further, so no one can complain about how samey some of it could be. But nonetheless, really amazing game. The story, if we were judging purely on story alone, the story was a straight up 10.
I gotta be the icebreaker. This is gonna be a 9 for me. This is a 9 game.
That's fair.
I mean, it's a good game. I'm not saying don't play this game. It's the same thing like 2018. No, it picks up right where 28 left off. It does things better, graphically better, story better, music better, which I love, by the way, because when that theme kicks in, man, I'm like, I feel it, especially at the end when Ragnarok's about to go down.
Love when you hear the chanting.
Yeah,
Just get the chanting. Yeah, that's so good. It's so good.
But yeah, overall, it's a good game. But to me, it's not even in my game of the year.
I mean, come on. I said this is a 10. Elden Ring is like, it's like a 15. Come on.
I'm actually, like, me and Nick have spoken about this before. I'm a firm believer that it shouldn't be on this year's Game Awards. For Game of the Year, it has no, it shouldn't. I don't think so, because think of it like in the terms of like movies. If a movie comes out like a month or two before like award season, it ends up on the next year's award season because there hasn't been enough time for the game the game or the movie in this example to have the kind of cultural impact as things that have come out within the past like 11 months. With God of War coming in on the same award season as Elden Ring, with the amount of like fan base content that's come out for the game, how big that game and the impact that Elden Ring has, I don't even like Elden Ring like that. I don't even like Elden Ring like that, but I'm like, there ain't no fucking way. You can't give God of War. You can't even contend God of War with Elden Ring in this situation. It's like if God of War wins, I'll actually be disappointed.
It would be sense because like it was literally 3 days before the cutoff for the Game Awards, and it's like okay,
I don't mean this as in like because it's my game of the year. I want it to win Game Awards, but I think it's better for the industry if Elden Ring would win.
Yeah,
personally.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah.
Let's go straight.
But
yes,
the cat wins.
It's like take your giant eldritch bosses out of here. Do I get to play as a cat?
Yeah. Oh Lord!
Do I get to knock things off of a desk and scare
robots? A wolf
robots?
and a bear in God of War, but can you play as a cat?
No, you can't.
No.
All right, John. Wrap us up, man. Send us home.
All right, so we're gonna go ahead and end it right there. Thank you so much for watching. Do the whole doobly doo, and we will see you guys next time.
Hold up, man. What about these guys? What about these guys? Where can you find these guys at? These are our guests.
You don't want to find us.
I am riffing, damn it.
Oh, hold up, man. Kratos didn't kill him yet. Hold up, man. They still alive.
Hey. I hit R3 on this podcast, goddammit.
Daniel,
anyway,
Connor,
check out the nerd.
Where can we find y'all?
Check out the NerdicGods podcast.
on YouTube.
See, now I'm all embarrassed.
Real quick, you can find me and Daniel, we host a weekly video game podcast called NerdicGods over at youtube.com/NerdicGods. You can also find us on audio platforms. Yeah, we're over there, me and him. We got another partner named Sims. He's English. Don't worry about him.
Damn.
Yeah, we just run through weekly video game news and talk about what we've been playing. It's a good time. Come check us out.
Yeah. Death can have me when it earns me.
Yeah, I knew he was gonna sneak it in there.
Great line to end on. Great line to end on. Thank you so much for watching. We will see you guys next time. Peace.
Deuces.